Hey, sixth graders. So here's the notes for the quiz that you'll have coming up this week. So big things to keep in mind. So make sure that they have a common denominator. So we're going to start with adding, subtracting, then adding mixed numbers and subtracting mixed numbers. Least common denominator, that's the first number both numbers go into. If you pick any common denominator, and I'll give you an example when we go through this problem, like on this one, if I wouldn't have picked 6, if I would pick 18, that's okay. If I did 3 times 6 and got 18, I could use 12. It's just you'll have to reduce more at the end, okay? So if you get the least common denominator, you have the least amount of work. Add the numerators, always keep the denominator, and then I put it in lowest terms. So again, the hiccups. If this were my problem, I always want to look to see if 3 goes into 6, because if I can keep one of my fractions the same, I'm going to do that. So 3 does go into 6, so all I have to change is the top fraction. So I want an equivalent fraction to 1/3. So if I multiply both by 2, I get 2 6. Now I have the same denominator and I can add them. I would do 2 6 plus 5 6 is 7 6. And then that's improper. Remember that you can't leave an answer that way. So I have to say 6 goes into 7 one time and I have 1 out of 6 left over. Okay. For subtracting, it is literally the same thing, only when I come to the step right here, I'm going to subtract instead of add the numerators. Okay. Again, if I pick the lowest common denominator, I'm almost always on subtraction not going to have to reduce at the end. Okay. Not 100%, but probably about 90%. So if you pick the lowest common denominator, generally you won't have to reduce. 24 is the first number that both 3 and 8 go into. So I use 24. I could have used 48. I could use 96, but I don't want to use that big a number. So if I multiply 8 by 3 to get to 24, I have to multiply the numerator by the same number. I multiplied 3 by 8 to get to 24. I have to multiply 2 by 8. So when I subtract these, I get 7, and I keep my denominator 24. That is already in lowest terms because I picked the lowest common denominator. So that will always help you. Sometimes you do have to reduce it still with subtraction, but very rarely if you pick the lowest denominator. Okay, so that's adding and subtracting. Mixed numbers, remember we added just one more step where you gotta add the mixed number. So you add so must have common denominator. That is the common theme through all of these. You have to have a common denominator. So I add the fractions. Once I have a common denominator, I add the whole numbers. If the fraction is improper, which this one's gonna be when we do it, you have to change it back to a mixed number, and then I simplify. So when I did this one, I said that I'm going to do them up and down because it's way easier. 9 and 6 both go into 18, okay? I could do 54. If I said 9 times 6 is 54, it's not going to be my lowest denominator. So what I do is I take the bigger denominator and I do the multiples of like 9. Okay, 6 didn't go into 9, then I go 18. 6 go into 18. It did. And then if it didn't, I would have tried 27. So I'm always going to kind of take my biggest denominator and try to do the multiples to see where they both go in the same. When I changed it, I got 8 18ths and I got 15 18ths. When I added them, I got 23 18ths. I added my fractions, then I added my whole numbers. So I got 4 and 23 18ths. Well, I can't leave that like that. So I had to change the 23 18ths, change it back to a mixed number. So I said 18 goes into 23 one whole time, and I have 5 out of 18 left over, which is 5 and 5 18ths. I add the 4 plus the 1 and 5 8ths, and I get 5 and 5 18ths. All right, and then subtracting, you would do the same thing unless you have to regroup. You just subtract instead of add. But on this one, so I have pretty much the same steps, but sometimes you have to borrow, which is going to be the case here. Okay, so I had 3 and 4 ninths minus 1 and 5 6. I found my common denominator. It's the same problem as this one, only it's subtraction, so I know it was 18. All right, when I go to subtract this, I can't do 8 minus 15. In other words, if I had 8 pieces out of 18 of a pizza left over, I can't give somebody 15 of those pieces. I don't have enough. You can't subtract going up, so I have to borrow. Now, the easiest way to do that is, remember we talked about if you borrow one from here, you just put it whatever your denominator is over itself. So I would do 8 18ths, and you have to add those two together. The trick is to add the denominator plus the numerator, and you get your new numerator. Just don't forget to borrow when you do that. And then your denominator. Okay, so I just added 18 plus 8. I got 26 over 18. Now I can subtract it. And again, since I found the least common denominator, I didn't have to reduce that at the end. If I would have used a different denominator, I could have used 36. I could have used 54. I would have had to reduce this at the end, okay? And then, so that's the add subtract with mixed. This is just a really quick review on simplifying. My biggest thing to tell you is to check 2, 3, and 5 to see if those go into a number to see if it's in lowest terms or not, okay? Generally, there's going to be bigger numbers into it, but if 2, 3, and 5 are the most common, I might have to do it more than once if I don't know. Like, I know 14 goes into both of these, but you might not know that. So I'd say, they're both even numbers. I know 2 goes into it, so I would check 2. And when I did that, I got a 14 over 21, which is really a lot easier to figure out because 7 goes into both of those. So I divided by 2, I got 14 over 21. Then I divided by 7, and I got 2/3. So I keep going until I'm done. Same here. If I had 18 and 21, 2 doesn't go into it, 3 does, so I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to divide by 3. And I did get to the lowest one right away. So 2, 3, and 5 are always the numbers you need to check for, okay? Improper to mixed, really quick, remember you do how many whole times 4 goes into 39, 4 times 6 is 36, 4 times 6, 4 times 9 is 36, 4 times 10 is 40. 40 is too many, so it would be 9 whole times. 9 times 4 was 36, so I had 3 left over. 36, 37, 38, 39 out of 4, okay? Again, if it's bigger numbers and you don't know how to do it, you just long divide it out. That will be your whole number. Your remainder is your numerator and your denominator, okay? All right, and then mix to improper. Remember, you just kind of go in a circle. Start at your denominator and multiply by the whole number. Add the numerator over the denominator. So I did 7 times 9 is 63. 63 plus 2 is 65, and I keep my denominator. All right, that should help you to review for this quiz. I will talk to you guys later.